Just give me a second here. I'm almost ready to start. H4WK1. I hope I'm saying your name right. Is it Hawk One? How are you doing? Just one more thing before I get started. Alright, so I think I'll get started here. So, what's up, everybody? Bloodmoon Bobby here. Today, I'm going to be talking about Close Enough. I finally finished watching all 8. They say 8 on HBO Max, but it's really more like 15 episodes of the third season of Close Enough. I've been following the show for really long time, basically ever since Comic-Con 2017, when that first trailer was put out by TBS. And even though I've heard some episodes have been aired on TBS, but it's advertised as an HBO Max show. Oh, by the way, it's Robbie. I got to do something, but real quick, but we'll listen. Okay, that's cool. So yeah, I've been talking about how on social media that I'm doing a stream today on the third season of Close Enough. I'm really big fan of JG Quintel. I watched a lot of regular show episodes, and now I'm reviewing Close Enough. So I've seen all the episodes of the season. I'm gonna go over them all today. By the way, I apologize for not making this clear in the description, but this is gonna be a spoiler discussion. So there's no limits. So if you haven't seen the episodes yourself and don't want to hear spoilers, you've been warned. So first episode I'll talk about is the episode I am gonna go in order. It is Where the Buffalo Roam. This is the episode where Josh and Emily go on their much delayed honeymoon to Catalina Island. Which I've actually been to Catalina myself back when I was in the 6th grade when I was 11 years old, and it's like it's a really nice place. You can go to the beach there, although I don't remember seeing a lot of buffalo. I think they get confused for being buffalo, but they are being bison, and it was a decent episode. I feel like a lot of the really funny gags don't show up until the end of the episode, though. Most of the episode, like when they do get to Catalina, Josh and Emily are trying to do all these various activities, like going out to dinner or going on this boat ride, but the bison are constantly getting in the way, and when they realize, yeah, this trip isn't going well, they both admit to each other that they're not having a good time. The bison go after them. I think they were supposed to be yeah, they used to be like part of a movie, but they were left on Catalina, and so the owner of this hotel gets the bison to go after them. And honestly, the climax is really my favorite part of the episode, since they were part of the movie. The climax is done in this kind of silent movie, black and white style, where you can't hear the characters speak, but they have like cue cards put up. So I thought that was really funny. I also like the part where Alex thinks that Josh and Emily are going to get divorced, so he gets on the ski jet and is trying to get to Catalina as fast as he can to try to save the days. So it was a, okay episode with a really funny climax. So I do, so overall that was my quick thoughts on Where the Buffalo Roam. Off to the next one, Venice Vengeance. This is the one where Pearl meets up with her a childhood rival for building sandcastles, and she's working with Candace to build these incredible sandcastles. And Pearl is really talented herself. She could build sandcastles of really famous landmarks, like she does the Sydney Opera House. I think in the episode she has Candace work on one that's supposed to look like the Taj Mahal or something like that. But in this episode, Pearl lets competition get the best of her, and that causes one of the sandcastles to get ruined, and they're not doing too well against this great opponent, and Pearl realizes that she should just let Candace have fun. So they come up with this sandcastle with a lot of like shiny diamonds or shiny kind of stones or something like that. So decent episode. Probably my favorite scene in the episode was the ending. There was a nice little bit of shock humor there where the villain tries to ruin the sandcastle with a burger, but Pearl deflects it and the burger gets on the opponent, and he's killed off when these seagulls come over and they try to eat the burger bits, and as a result the opponent is left as a skeleton. So I thought that was a nice bit of shock humor there. Okay episode. But the really good episodes don't start going until the very next one. The next episode was so good, I actually watched it twice. Once by myself, taking notes for this review, and another time when I got to watch it with my sister. And this is the hellspital episode where Alex is experiencing these really intense stomach pains, and he really doesn't want to go to the hospital because he said his dad died in a hospital, so he really doesn't want to go. And so his friends trick him into going into the hospital by saying, "Oh, we're gonna take you to a movie." But when he realizes that they're actually taking him to the doctor, he tries escaping into Griffith Park, but gets knocked unconscious along the way. And then he wakes up and he thinks, he's going, to the hellspital. And, it's a really scary place with a lot of sharp objects. And he thinks that, he's, going to die. And yeah, I really, instead of summarizing the episodes, I should do a quick summary, but at the same time also critique the episode. And when he gets there, he meets his father. So what I like about the episode is that I think it does what JG Cantell does best with a lot of his shows, where he mixes surrealism with a lot of heart. So what I mean by that is, watching this episode, it really took me back. It really reminded me of the very first regular show episode I watched. It reminded me of the episode with the 80s cell phones and just how crazy it is. And so, I really like, seeing, Alex, like, being in this terrifying hospital. And the really, like, heartfelt stuff comes when, he gets to meet the ghost of his father, and they fight their way out of the hospital, chop up some centaur nurses with some axes. And the really big surprise of this episode was when the dad reveals, why he died. And it's because he reveals that he's been hiding that he's had this illness for a really long time. And when he finally went to the doctor, it was too late for him. So he doesn't want Alex to suffer the same fate, and he encourages Alex to go to the doctor. So it's a very touching episode, and I really like that kind of mix of really, crazy, visuals and environment with that, heartfeltness, and also with the really big surprise that, when Alex's dad reveals what happened to him. So overall, I do really like the episode. It's one of my favorites of the season for its mix of surrealism and also having, a really big heart as well. Next one, Candace Revolution. So back to another really enjoyably bizarre episode. So in this episode, after Candace has pancakes for dinner, she decides that she's going to break all the rules, and so she, cooks lasagna on a, pan-fried lasagna by herself, sits really close to the TV. There's a scene in the trailer for this season where she wears all of her mom's makeup and she's jumping on the bed saying to her parents, "You're all out of you're all of boop makeup." So, it's a lot of fun seeing Candace goes crazy, and she encourages her classmates to break the rules. So, her classmates are going around wrecking the school, and they decide that they're going to build this volcano, and that uses baking soda and vinegar, and you can guess, how destructive they could be. They've got so much that it could potentially destroy the city of Los Angeles. And yeah, so it's a lot of fun watching all the kids go berserk and running amok in the school. And Candace does appear to be having a really good time experiencing what rule breaking is like. And of course, Josh and Emily have to come in and convince her to stop. One of the scenes that really kind of got my attention was when Candace realizes how destructive her behavior is and realizes she has to turn around. Her friend Jade really doesn't want to stop all the madness because Jade is fed up with having to repeat kindergarten. Jade is her friend, by the way, in case I didn't say that. And they have their fight. I was really kind of compelled by the fight, and yeah, so but of course things resolve, and Candace is able to convince her friend to cut it out. And yeah, so it has that, really. So yeah, overall, I would say that this was a really fun episode to watch. I had a good time watching Candace go crazy, while also enjoying, getting to see how she was able to learn her lesson. Really, yeah. So it was a really funny episode watching her, running amok, and also I like the joke at the end where, um her parent she and her parents are trying to cross the street, so Josh is like, maybe just this once they can jaywalk, but then the LAPD stops them. So overall, Candace Revolution was a really fun episode. Next episode is Randy Free Solos. This is the episode where Randy really wants to impress this climber named Ty by lying and saying that, oh, I'm really into, rock climbing as well. Like, there's a scene where Randy slips, and and Ty thinks that he did this really impressive climb, even though it was just out of accident. So this one was an okay episode. It's kind of one of those liar revealed episodes, which I don't hate that like kind of motif as much as other people, but it kind of leads to an episode that plays the route that you expect. Of course, when Ty suggests, hey, let's go climb Eagle Rock, he finds out the truth, and of course, Randy can't do it, and yeah, I mean, I feel like it could have used some more surrealism. It could have had a lot more fun with the episode, especially when things got crazy. But at the same time, I do like the scenes of Ty and Randy being together. I did want to see them really want to become a couple, but of course but in the end, Ty doesn't go with Randy, not because he lied to him, but Ty reveals that he actually doesn't date climbers, so that's what happens. One of my favorite jokes, I will say, from this episode is Randy gets his hands on this kind of like inflatable cushion. It's the kind of thing where it breaks his fall. So when he does fall, he like of course he lands on the cushion, but goes around bouncing around these insurance billboards. So I had a lot of fun watching those scenes when he's like getting bounced around and he turns out okay. So it was an okay episode, but I felt like it could have been a lot more fun, especially since I really liked the prior season episode where Randy is stuck on this island and he gets to meet all these like characters like Tim Allen's character from Home Improvement, and he has to fix this thing that happens at his house. So I feel like it could have been an even more fun episode, but it's okay, it's fine. I do like the relationship. I thought it was very genuine and heartfelt, but I felt that it could have been a lot more fun as well. So next episode is Summer Job. This is where Alex gets fired from his community college. It's a community college, right? Yeah, community college PE coaching job, and so he goes off to work at Josh's the TV store that Josh works at. It's basically like a Best Buy, and he's not very good at the job. So what Josh and his friends come up with is, hey, let's do all of Alex's work, and we'll trick him into thinking, and we'll trick our boss into thinking that Alex is doing a really good job setting up TVs and all that. So of course initially they're able to get away with it. They're a little worried when Ezra starts finding out, but of course Ezra initially buys it. By the way, Ezra, actually, of the people that work at the TV store, is my favorite character. I think he's a very like funny character. He's that kind of like intimidating, but in a kind of humorous way, like an intimidating boss, but in a comedic sort of way. So I really, thought that Ezra was really funny. One of my favorite aspects of the episode. And in the climax, we see that, Alex gets promoted and has to help put up this really crazy billboard. It's like a billboard with the help of these AR glasses that Josh recommends. And of course, initially it seems like it doesn't go very well, but Alex uses his volleyball skills, literally using like his helmet as a volleyball to get out of the situation. So it's another decent episode. It does have like a very compelling climax. But at the same time, I could have felt like it could have been a lot more fun. There is another episode that I will talk about today that I think is an even better one, that involves Josh and his electronics store. So I'll get to that when I get there. But overall, Summer Job I think was an okay episode. I will say I've also liked the. I thought the introduction had some pretty funny moments too, like with the dean getting like really pissed off. But overall, I thought that Summer Job was an okay episode. Next one is Bridget the Brain. This is the one where Bridget gets to see what her sister is up to. Her sister is Olivia, and she's this, really great science genius at Caltech, and even has a building named after her. And I felt like this is one of the more relatable episodes of the entire season, especially because, like, I know I've been through that as well, like, being compared to a sibling and having to put up with that kind of pressure. So I really, related to how frustrated Bridget was throughout this episode. And to get smarter, she tries one of, like, her sister's, what they call an IntelliPill, and she becomes, like, a super genius and helping out her friends. Like, she helps Candace put together this potato, like, kind of power plant, and helps Josh fix this microwave. And as a result, there's this bulge on Bridget's, like, brain that's starting to develop as she gets smarter and smarter, and she thinks that she's able to compete with her sister in this TV interview, and she even comes up with an even better version of the pill. It's like some kind of like form of Viagra, literally. It's called, what did they call it? Mindagra, yeah. And so they both, end up taking, Mindagra, and they become like these super geniuses, and they have this like big like fight on the outside. And it's really, yeah, really, like the last episode, it was really like kind of compelling stuff, because I related to a lot of that pressure myself. And I really like the big twist. Like, something about when JG Quintel does these sibling rivalry episodes, I like. There's always, like, a big surprise. Like, I remember in the episode that introduced, like, with regular show, the Dawn episode, we find out that Dawn was actually the younger brother all this time. And in this episode, I think it has an even better twist. We find out that just like how, Bridget's mom has been comparing her to Olivia, Olivia has also, been compared to Bridget. So the mom is like asking Olivia, why couldn't you be prom queen? Why couldn't you be, into abstract art? And so it was actually, yeah, it was a really nice reminder that also tells me even, what they call the golden child could also be compared to, like, everybody has their own strengths and weaknesses. So I like that, seeing that, come out. And, it's a really, big, I think it serves as a really big reminder that even the sibling who seems to have it all, also, could be compared to, could, also, it's that sort of thing where the other sibling excels in the things that the golden child may not be as skilled in, and that kind of stuff. So I really related to Bridget's struggle in this episode, and I really felt bad even when they were battling it out. Their mom is just like, yeah, fight. She has the saying, pressure makes diamonds. And I feel like that was kind of like an unspoken rule for me growing up. So overall, really compelling episode, really, related to it as much as, and as much as, I related to Bridget's struggle, it was really nice getting to see her reconcile with Olivia. So, yeah, so I thought that Bridget the Brain, probably, one of the best written episodes of the season. And, okay, so Next episode is Never Meet Your Heroes. This is the episode where um Alex is getting wants to meet his favorite author because he's worried his work, his own, like, fictional stories aren't very good. And so he meets this author named Sir Jack, and at first things start off really well, but then Sir Jack, like, causes Alex to overwork and basically spend any waking moment he sees him in, like, working on his new stories. So really intense stuff, but at the same time it makes for some really compelling drama. So it was really, really had me at the edge of my seat, not only seeing Sir Jack making Alex overwork, but also when we got to the ending, when we find out, and it was a very surprising twist too, that we find out that Sir Jack is actually this kind of immortal figure, where it turns out from the caveman days he was history's first plagiarist. And so with the help of this meteorite, when his body gets old, he takes on he, basically puts his soul into a younger artist and kills the older body that he's in. And now that, Sir Jack is, clearly in elderly age, his plan is he wants to take over Alex's body. And so, he could kill, and because the bodies are swapped, he could kill Alex through the older body he used to inhabit and that kind of thing. So it really makes for really intense body drama stuff. I really got into this battle, and wanting to see Alex basically save the day. And actually, one of my favorite jokes starts off in the beginning, and it reminded me of my own days when I used to write like fan stories based on Star versus the Forces of Evil. When Alex is worried that right off the bat his friends are instantly gonna hate on his story even before he even gets the chance to talk about it. And so he's worried even when he first starts, like, telling the story, his friends are going to get really mad and hate on his story. And it leads to not only to some very relatable to a very relatable scene, but it's also a very funny scene. For whatever reason, Alex is worried that his friends are all gonna start, like, kicking him in the nuts and that kind of stuff. So it's like, even from the very first joke, it was a very funny, a very compelling episode. I would even go as far as to say one of my favorites. So overall, really compelling, really creative, really funny. It really ticks all the boxes for what I think is, when J.G. Quintel really does his best work. Hang on a second. So overall, I thought that Never Meet Your Heroes is one of the it's really, yeah, I would even go as far as to say that it is J.G. Quintel at one of his finest. I mean, probably not my favorite episode of Close Enough, but it's up there. It has, like, all the ingredients of a really good J.G. Quintel episode. So overall, I really enjoyed Never Meet Your Heroes. So next one up is Robots with Benefits. I really should have said that Robots with Benefits is the one with the best writing, because it's the one episode where I genuinely had no idea where it was going, but I had a lot of fun trying to guess where the story was going to go. So Robots with Benefits, this is the episode where, after an incident with Josh at work, Ezra says, okay, I'm gonna have you guys team up with this robot to help you install TVs, and Josh and his coworkers get really nervous that Ezra is going to use this, robot to replace them and things like that. And so initially it seems like, Josh is going to so at first they try all these, methods to try to sabotage the robot. Where did the Actually, wait, the first thing that happens is, this scene really got me laughing, because I thought that they were gonna send, Obo to a place called Shitsville. And I think what they were hoping was that there is no place called Shitsville, so they thought that they could just abandon Obo, maybe he'll get lost, and they don't have to deal with him again. But actually, it turns out Shitsville is a real place. It's spelled, well, in a real place in the show. I don't know if it's a real place in California, but it turns out in the show there is a town called Shidsville, but it's spelled Schydzzville, and it turns out that they're super impressed with him, and that doesn't work. And what I thought was going to happen was there was going to be some kind of incident, maybe Obo will find out and will want to destroy Josh and his friends, but no, it doesn't go that way. The town of Shidsville is very impressed with Obo, and so the next thing that Josh tries to do is try to destroy him at his home, while his friends and family, are very impressed with him. So he thought that this could be an opportunity to destroy Obo, but then it turns out that Obo actually admires what Josh has and how he has a loving family, and he's worried that his only goal in life is going to be installing TVs, and so he becomes really depressed, and I actually felt really bad for him, and it causes Obo to find ways to, I'll just say, commit suicide. So he's going around this construction site, finding all these ways to try to destroy himself. And now Josh and his coworkers went from wanting to destroy Obo to actually wanting to, help him out, convince Obo that even though the job they have is very shitty, what makes it worth it is their friendship. And so they, convince Obo to not kill himself, but it leads to Obo falling in this pool of molten metal, and it seems like Obo is dead. And even Ezra's like, yeah, I'm gonna kill off this robot program because Obo was too emotional. And at the end, they reveal that Obo survives. It's just that his body is now attached to one of those circular robot vacuum cleaners. So I feel like it's the best written episode because I genuinely had no idea where it was going. It's probably the least predictable of the Close Enough episodes, and also had, a very kind of humorous story, but at the same time, it was very heartfelt. I didn't want to see, Obo kill himself, and I felt really bad for him. I guess something that could happen, although some might argue this would probably lead to another, drastic situation, is maybe whoever built the Obo robot could build a whole family for him. I mean, I don't think Josh and his coworkers could do that, since his store is not building the robots themselves. But excuse me, had a bit of a burp there. Maybe Obo's manufacturer could come up with some kind of family for him at some point. I don't know. So, I like when these kind of episodes really get me to think, what are some other ideas that they could have and stuff like that. So overall, I really liked Robots with Benefits, since I thought it was very well written, very funny. It's, like a lot of Close Enough episodes, it's very funny, but it's also very unpredictable. I genuinely did not know where it was going. When I was typing the notes, I thought that I was going to get one step ahead by trying to figure out, what was going to happen next, and I was always wrong. So I had a good time not knowing where this episode was going. Robots with Benefits certainly is one of my favorite episodes of the season. And speaking of very touching episodes, the next episode is the Weird Kid. This is the one where Candace is starting to become less close with her mom, Emily, and so Emily wants to try to figure out, how she can be closer to Candace. At first, I thought this was going to be one of those episodes where Emily has to accept that, as Candace grows up, she's going to want to, spend time with her friends. And as Emily gets older, that's going to mean that she's not going to relate to Candace as much, and that there are going to be times where she can't always hang out with her. But it takes a very different route. So what ends up happening is Candace accidentally wishes on, I think it was Alex's Viking necklace, and she ends up waking up the next day shrunken down to Candace's height. Whoa, I had a bit of some lag right there. Hopefully it doesn't mess me up too much. I'm actually, if you don't mind, I'm gonna actually I'm gonna switch over to my Ethernet connection, so hopefully I don't have as many Wi-Fi hiccups. Or actually, no, I can't switch over to Ethernet right now, unfortunately. So yeah, it's one of those days where my computer CPU is like freaking out, but it doesn't seem, aside from that one hiccup, it doesn't seem too laggy, I don't think. You could let me know in the chat if you're experiencing some issues, but I think I'll, let this slide. So yeah, so because of the wish, Emily is now shrunken down to the size of Candace, and she goes to school basically pretending to be a student named Emma. And while she's there, she's figuring out that, she's starting to relate to all the students less and less, because now, Emily is now, all grown up. And initially, she doesn't get along. She tries to get into some of the like antics that the kids get into, like sticking a pencil in her ear. Could I actually do it right now with like a pencil I have behind me, like kind of like this? It's not sticking to my ear very well. But that doesn't, work out very well. She also has a really hard time hanging out with Candace. That is until she gets to a point where stream is fine for you. Okay, that's good. Where she's able to get Candace out of a sticky situation with her friend Jade, and so it seems like things are going well with between her and Candace, until she figures out that, that this new friend Emma is actually her mom shrunken down, and she accuses her of spying on her. And it leads to probably the most intense scene of the episode, where to make up with Jade, Candace is gonna throw this rock at this beehive, and to protect Candace, she puts Candace in this box, and Emily is the one who gets stung by all these bees. And when Candace realizes what her mom went to save her, it leads to her, feeling bad that her mom got stung by all these bees, and she, I think she actually dies. And yeah, honestly, the climax of this, it kind of reminded me of the movie My Girl, where Macaulay Culkin gets like stung by, I think, like a bunch of bees, and also even Beauty and the Beast, when Emily dies, but at the same time Alex destroys the necklace, which breaks the kind of curse, and now Emily is, back to her adult self, and, of course, she and Candace reconcile. There's also this like kind of side story going on in the episode where Alex becomes super paranoid, and he thinks that he's gonna end up meeting any like children he has, so he distracts himself by going to this concert of this band called The Offspring, because in his wish, he said that he accidentally said, he wanted to be closer to his offspring. So he's like, oh, I'm going to go to this concert of this band called The Offspring. But while he's there, he becomes increasingly paranoid with like the song lyrics. And that's what causes him to destroy the necklace. So I feel like that was probably the funniest aspect of this episode. So overall, I really liked The Weird Kid. It had some really compelling drama. And at the same time, it was very funny, especially with the whole thing with Alex. So overall, I do really like this episode too, The Weird Kid. Next off is Legend of the Pier. This is the one where Bridget is really worried that she, is no longer, like hip and popular on social media, and so she goes to Santa Monica so that she can, bring back this so that she could recreate one of her most social media videos, where she gets on top of one of the Ferris Wheel cars and does a headstand. But while she's there, she comes across this group of influencers called Wham House 4, and it starts off this kind of rivalry because one of the Wham House 4 members is like, I'm gonna do the headstand first, so that if you try to do the same thing, people will accuse you ripping me off. And as you can imagine, it leads to a very dangerous situation. So, yeah, I thought this was also another one of the decent, close enough episodes. I was really compelled by the drama. I really wanted to see Bridget do the stunt first because I really wanted to see her compete with the Lamb House 4 and prove that, she could still get it. But it leads to kind of this message of, even though others may, perceive her as, getting too old school and not being cool anymore. She learns the lesson, for Emily that, she doesn't have to do this to prove that she could still be cool. And since they were on a Ferris wheel, the ride operator, when she sees, I think it's one of the Lamb House 4 members, doing this to go viral, that takes it a step too far, and he tries to stop the ride, but it causes the Ferris wheel. If you've seen the scene from the trailer, it causes the Ferris wheel to go off and like spin around like the roads near the Santa Monica Pier, and it gives Bridget the chance to actually save one of the Lamb House 4 members named if I could see here, Ricky, and she's able to save her. And after this experience, she and Ricky reconcile. She even reveals to Bridget that, hey, you actually inspired me to, become big on social media, which I think is that kind of thing where it's like initially Ricky didn't want to show that she was actually a big admirer of Bridget in order to like kind of prove herself and to seem like she's the dominant cool person. And they realize that actually there's yet another social media app that has gotten popular, and now those like influencers that are on the new app are the ones calling Bridget and Ricky old and old school and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I would say it was a pretty decent episode. I really wanted to see, Bridget like show that, she, doesn't have to, prove to the social media app that she could still be cool. And I really liked how she was able to reconcile with Ricky. And I was actually genuinely touched when I saw that Ricky revealed that she was actually very inspired by Bridget. So yeah, I would say overall it was a pretty decent episode. I'm going to turn on a fan here. I hope it's not too loud, but I'm going to turn this on because it's starting to get really hot in here. I heard that it was going to be a really hot day in Southern California. I hope that the fan is not too noisy, but I don't want to open a window and make my neighbors think, what the heck are you talking about? So next episode, nearly there, nearly at the end. I'll answer any questions you got when I finish up my discussion of the episode. So next episode is Bike and Survive. This is the one where Alex starts to use Bridget's exercise bike and becomes very addicted to it, to a point where he meets the trainer for video conferencing, like meets this exercise bike trainer. Can't hear a fan. Okay, that's good. Yeah, so the fan is running now, but hopefully it's not too loud. So this is so yeah, in this episode, he gets very like he even like starts to have like feelings for this bike trainer, and it gets the his friends very suspicious. I'm noticing, this is just the day where I'm forgetting to plug things in. I want to plug in my laptop because I don't want the battery to die. So his friends get very suspicious, and it actually turns out that these exercise bikes are actually part of a cult, and this cult is basically like they're all being like brought over to the headquarters of this company called Hot Bike. And they're all supposed to be like, all these trainers who they're exercising is actually supposed to be powering the villain's spaceship. Like all these years ago, the villain crash landed on Earth, and all these years she's been convincing them to join up and become part of hot bikes so that they could power their spaceship. And it leads to this whole situation where it turns out the people that work at hot bike are actually aliens from another planet. Like, they look like humans from like the waist up, but it actually turns out that they have like tentacles. So they are these aliens. And when Alex realizes, initially he's very attracted to the main villain. I think her name is Renessa. Yeah, Renessa. Yeah. Yeah, but of course, he realizes how messed up this is, he is the one who saves the day and like gets his friends off the ship while the ship crash lands on the moon with Renessa inside. So it has a very compelling story, and I really wanted to see where it was going to go. I was actually genuinely surprised that Renessa is actually, an alien and that kind of stuff. So I actually thought it was just going to be like a really intense like exercise cult that would stay on Earth. I'm even surprised that I'm even saying that. But yeah, I was really compelled by the story, really surprised with where it went, really surprised with the villain and that kind of stuff. So overall, I really enjoyed Bike and Survive. All right, so next episode, Halloween Enough. Essentially, this is the close enough version of those terror tales of the park episodes from the regular show days. I think it would have been nice if Halloween Enough got released as like a standalone episode, maybe in October, so that it would fit better with Halloween. But as is, it is my favorite episode of the season. It may even be my favorite Close Enough episode. Basically, kind of like Terror Tales of the Park, it's broken down into separate stories. So there's a story that mostly involves Alex. There's another one that involves Bridget moving into this really badly designed house, and it turns out to be haunted. And there's another episode involving Candace and her family and having to defeat this scary pumpkin. And they're all very enjoyable. I think of the three, it's hard for me to pick a favorite because my two favorites are the ones involving Alex, and I also really like the story of Bridget. I'll start with the Alex one first. So he goes off to this margarita bar at Universal City Walk, and it actually turns out that the people that like to party there are vampires, or what do they call themselves? But they are like, some kind of form of vampires, and they bite Alex, and Alex at first tries to live with hey, it could be really cool being a partying vampire, and he tries to show off to Josh, look at this, I can have drinks while upside down, and all these kind of things. And Josh and his friends are completely unconvinced. One of my favorite gags of the episodes, there are really two favorites. One of my favorites is there's a scene where actually there are a couple scenes where Alex tries to turn into a bat, but he's having a lot of trouble until he gets it right. So I like that recurring gag. Another one of my favorite jokes comes from when Alex tries to get his friends to attack the people he lives with, and when they try to get inside his house, they can't. It's the whole thing with vampires where you have to invite them in to go inside. So he's like, I invite you in, and then he's like, oh, screw it, I'm just gonna use this app to invite my friends in. So I thought that was a very creative take on that whole vampire motif of you have to invite them into your house or else they cannot go inside. And I even like the scene where it turns out their neighbor from upstairs tries to help them, but he gets killed by the vampires. So I really like a lot of the gags in the episode. I really like the scenes where Josh and his family and friends are trying to fight Alex and the vampires and all that. So I had a lot of fun with the story. I also really like how creative the next story is as well. So in the next story, after Bridget and Alex divorce, and by the way, the recurring thing in all of the stories is that Alex is the villain in some way. Either actually no, it's either Alex is the villain or he's very disadvantaged in these stories. So in the next story, Bridget moves into this really ugly looking house that has a lot of like, this really terrible orange and green like color scheme. And at first it seems really terrible. It turns out that the place is haunted, and Bridget is like, oh, I'll just use this for content. And she even gets these like ghost whisperers to figure out what this whole house is about. And it turns out the designer is haunting the house. It's kind of like that regular show episode with that like very hip like haunted person that like possesses parts of the house. It's not quite as creepy as that episode, but basically what I really liked about what I thought was very creative about the episode is that the designer like to communicate with Bridget, Alex, and Bridget, Josh, and Emily. He possesses parts of the house, like he'll take over the refrigerator and throw ice cubes, or he'll take over the fireplace and that kind of stuff. And Alex, when I said he's very disadvantaged in this story, he ends up getting killed by this designer. Like this designer bloodily crushes him using this table and all that. So it seems like things are not going very well. But then all these influencers like are hanging out outside the house and they're like, hey, we think this will be really good for content too. And so they start like taking pictures and things like that. So they have a good time at this house. So yeah, I really like that segment too. Honestly, my least favorite segment of the four. It's not a bad story, but it's just kind of the one with the least amount of surprises. Is the one with the scary pumpkin. It's basically a pumpkin that goes around and tries to attack everyone in the house. Candace, Emily, and Josh are the ones trying to fight this pumpkin off. Probably the funniest part of the episode is Emily accidentally kills Alex in an effort to try to destroy the pumpkin. And keeping going with this whole like making Alex the kind of ass of these stories is that Candace needs a pumpkin to take to school for a competition, and she ends up taking Alex's severed bloody head. So I thought that was, probably got me the biggest laugh of all the segments. So I like the Candace story. I think it could have had some more surprises because it basically just functioned as your kind of typical, let's fight the scary, kind of pumpkin. But it works. But my favorite, by far, maybe even my favorite segment of really any Close Enough episodes is the last story. So Candace really wants to be told a scary story before she goes to bed. So what she ends up having this nightmare where she thinks she finds out that she realizes that her whole life is just a TV show. She actually is able to go into the Cartoon Network studios where they see, they're working on the show called Close Enough. She even meets the, some of the voice actors and the animators, and even like J.G. Quintel. She thinks she meets her dad, but it actually, I think because Josh is supposed to, represent J.G. Quintel himself, she comes across a person she thinks is her dad and it's actually J.G. Quintel, and he has this kind of creepy conversation with Candace, and it's like, hey, your parents probably won't let you watch this show, but have you seen this? And he shows a sticky note with Mordecai, Rigby, and Candace. So it's a really good like kind of fourth wall break. There's even a scene where Candace finds out she's being animated in real time. It reminded me a lot of the scene of Spaceballs where Helmet and and his accomplices are trying to fast forward the movie, but they realize they're being filmed in real time. So I thought that was a really great fourth wall break. It sort of reminded me of like the kind of fourth wall breaks you would see in like a Mel Brooks movie like Spaceballs. So that was really my favorite scene. And when she wakes up and realizes that it's all just a dream. She comes across her dad again, and it ends with Josh doing the Thriller face. If you've seen the music video for Thriller, you know that creepy face that Michael Jackson does at the end, and you hear that cackle. It ends off on a scene just like that. It's just that it's Josh doing the really creepy thing. So I thought that was brilliant. I really like that. I mean, oh my god. I really enjoyed that. It's probably my all-time favorite scene in Close Enough. I really like fourth wall breaks, and I thought that they did it masterfully in that. I really like the ending of Halloween enough. So I would even go as far as to say that it's my favorite Close Enough episode. You can let me know if you've seen Close Enough. Let me know what your favorite episode is in the chat. So overall, I really enjoyed the episode. So the next episode is The Perfect Couple, where Josh and Emily are getting fed up with hanging out with Alex and Bridget. This is because Alex and Bridget really, don't like going to a lot of kids' places anymore because they're really messy. And I think it's also because since Alex and Bridget don't have kids of their own, it's tough for them to have fun at a lot of those places. So they decide to split off from Josh and Emily. So Alex and Bridget end up hanging out with, going to this club and hanging out with this really creepy character. And meanwhile, Josh and Emily think that they're having a good time hanging out with this very normal seeming happy family, but things start going awry when Alex and Bridget start realizing that really, when you get down to it, adult crazy adult activities, they have this realization that crazy adult activities are just crazy kids activities, just with booze. Who was actually the one who initially realized that? That was actually Bridget that realized that. And they have this whole incident of, you might have seen in the trailers where they're going on the log ride at Knott's Berry Farm, and the log they're on actually crashes into this jam store. And Bridget and Alex end up being sent to what they call jam jail. I felt that they could have had a lot more fun at Knott's Berry Farm, but I see where they're going with this. And it actually turns out probably the biggest surprise of this episode. I thought that the family that Josh, Emily, and Candace were hanging out with were going to be this really nice family. But it actually turns out that they're this really scary family, and their daughter is actually a dog, and they're really creepy. They like to eat a lot of bloody raw horse meat, and the family sends their dog to, go after Josh and Emily, and and I do like how they figure out a way to get the family to stop chasing them, by where Emily tells the family we're actually cat people, and that gets the family to stop chasing them. So it's another all right episode. I give it credit for not going the route I was expecting, particularly with, I would actually thought that I was going to enjoy Alex and Bridget's side story more, but I actually ended up enjoying Josh and Emily's story more so. So it's an alright episode. And now we get to the final episode of the season, which is Match Made in Valhalla. So in this episode, Bridget is able to help, bring couples together. But in her efforts, she realizes that while she's able to hook up a lot of people, the problem is the only person that she can't, hook up is herself. And she actually starts to have a lot of feelings for Alex again. So throughout the episode, she's going for a lot of denial. But the point that gets too much for her is she what is that point? I'm trying to catch up my memory here. She is that Alex meets up with this girl named Hannah, and they even like get to a point where they're having sex, and they're having a they seem to be having a good time together, and then they're gonna get married. Like Alex proposes to her, and they have this wedding outside of their house. And the biggest surprise of this episode, I think, was when Hannah reveals that she's actually a Norse goddess named Hanaus, and she's going to take Alex up to their heaven and spend the rest of their lives together. And we see Bridget, try to get back with Alex. So it ends, and so yeah, so of course, Bridget admits her true feelings, and she gets back with Alex. So they're gonna try to take a bit of a slower relationship this time and not go so fast. So it's a decent episode. I do like the surprises that were in it, like finding out that Bridget still has feelings for Alex, and finding out that Hannah is actually a Norse goddess and that kind of stuff. So it's a decent episode. I'll give it more credit because it did genuinely surprise me at times. So yeah, overall, those are my thoughts on the episodes of the third season of Close Enough. Again, I apologize. It took me a bit longer than I expected for me to get through all these episodes, but hey, I did it. So yeah, overall, I like this season. Some of the episodes are even my favorites of Close Enough overall. So I'll keep this chat going for maybe another 10 minutes. I really want to get something to eat, so I'll keep it going for another 10 minutes. You could let me know, this is basically like the free part where you could ask me, questions. What do you think of Close Enough? Heck, what do you think of Regular Show? If you've seen any of these shows, let me know down below in the comments. If you've seen season 3, what is your favorite episode? I'd really like to hear it. Like I said before, Close Enough is easily my favorite HBO Max series. I'm really interested in seeing what they're going to do next season. I've said before that Close Enough, it's not like a super story-driven show like Infinity Train is, but I feel like the sticking point, one of the big sticking points, is seeing where things are going to go with Bridget and Alex. When it comes to these kind of couples where they start over again, I don't have like kind of optimistic expectations, but I guess we'll find out where things are going to go. Wow, so I'm just kind of going through JG Quintel's Twitter and seeing, if he's made any announcements about the future of the show, but so far not really. I'm having a lot of fun seeing those retweets, like some people are retweeting or tweeting about the scene where Candace ends up at Cartoon Network Studios. I don't think Close Enough is in the UK. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you get the chance to see it, because it is one of the best animated shows, or best shows in general, I've seen from HBO Max. Is HBO Max released in the UK? Actually, I'll check. Hopefully you could find Close Enough maybe on like a video on demand service. The first 2 seasons are released in iTunes, but I don't know if it's released on iTunes in the UK, so you're gonna have to check. I really hope it's available in your area. It's, especially if you really like a Regular Show. Close Enough is a really good successor. So, Robbie, were there, sorry that you missed out on the YouTube or Instagram chat. I had it a bit shorter today because I really wanted to do this YouTube discussion where I finally get to talk about the Close Enough episodes. So it's not on Prime Video, which means probably it isn't. Hopefully it gets released in the UK one of these days. I really think if you really, especially if you like Regular Show, I think you'll really like Close Enough. Okay, I think I'm gonna have to step away for a second because I really want to get some kind of snack to fill me up for a second. So I'll be right back. If anybody comes by and they're asking where I'm at, just tell them, I've gone off to get a snack. So I'll be right back. All right, so I'm back. So I'll keep the stream going for 5 more minutes in case if you got any more questions. I finally seen the Rugrats. The new show, the one on Paramount Plus, or the original series. I think some people on Google are saying that Close Enough is on Netflix. I don't know for sure. You would have to check to find out the original. What are your favorite episodes so far? Yeah, I haven't had much to eat since I've been doing streams all day. But yeah, I think I'll get something to eat after I'm done with the stream. So Robbie, if you want to check out Close Enough, try looking at Netflix. I'm seeing on Google some people are saying it's on Netflix, but I don't know for sure since I'm not in the UK. So you're gonna have to find that out for yourself. Do you think I should get Mario Kart or Super Smash Brothers to play on the plane with my brother? It depends. Which of the two franchises do you to play the most, or what do you prefer? Because I have a good time playing both with my sister. So I feel like it's a matter of taste. Like are you more into racing games or are you more into fighting games? I've seen only like 5 episodes, but they are funny. Cool. Do you remember the specifics of, like, not the names, but like do you remember what happens in like one of them? I just kind of want to get a sense of the ones you have seen. We played Mario Kart before on the Wii. Okay, so yeah, you could get Mario Kart. Are you thinking of getting Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? He thinks he wouldn't like Super Smash Brothers. Yeah, okay, so that's a sign that, like, maybe you should go with Mario Kart instead. Versus when Tommy wants to eat dog food on his birthday. I think I saw that one, like, a really long time ago. Another is when they go to the cinema. Okay. But yeah, in my case, like, Rugrats was the first Nickelodeon show I ever heard of. I remember I didn't get to see it much until I was like maybe 8 years old, but I remember when I was really little, there's a cartoon called Little Bear, and my parents would get the VHS tapes, and they would often be advertising the hell out of Rugrats. Probably because until SpongeBob, that was like Nickelodeon's like, really big premiere show. Another one has a barbecue and Tommy goes to get his ball. Have you seen the newer series, Robbie? Oh, I see. Close Enough is on Netflix. Are all 3 seasons available, or just the first, or just the first two? But I can only really watch Netflix on my Xbox. Um, well, yeah. Hope you get the chance to see it at some point. Because it is a really funny and real surreal show. So, all right. So I'm gonna end things off here since I said that I would be streaming up to this point. So, or actually, wait. You want to check? Okay. I'll wait a second. Only got 2. Okay. Well, if you haven't seen the show yet, I would say the first 2 seasons are really good to start off with. Excuse me, I'm just noticed my laptop charger fell out. So if you haven't seen the show, the first 2 seasons are a very good place to start. They have some really good episodes too. Like one of my favorites was the one where from the second season, the one where Josh gets like super buff, and another one is where Bridget is struggling to kick her social media addiction. So I think you'll have a good time with those episodes. I gotta go now because it's really late and I gotta get up early tomorrow, but we'll definitely watch them again. Okay, yeah, I also have to head off too. Thank you to everybody who has stopped by for my close enough discussion. I really like season 3, so if you like the stream, please subscribe to the Bloodman Bobby YouTube channel. And until next time, this has been Bloodman Bobby, and thank you all for watching.